For 3,000 years, historians believed Egypt's power came from gold, from monuments, from the will of the gods. They were wrong. Buried in temple walls and forgotten battle records lies a secret the pharaohs never fully revealed. A military system so advanced that it kept Egypt unbeaten for centuries, while empire after empire around it collapsed into dust. This is not a story about pyramids. This is the story of the machine that built them. Ancient Egypt should not have survived as long as it did. Surrounded by the Hittites to the north, the Nubians to the south, and the Libyans to the west, Egypt sat at the crossroads of every ambitious empire in the ancient world. Yet, for over 1,000 years, no one could hold Egyptian territory for long. Historians assumed this was luck or geography or the size of the Nile's wealth. But when archaeologists pieced together Egyptian military records, troop rosters, supply logs, training manuals carved in stone, a different picture emerged. Egypt didn't win because it had the biggest army. Egypt won because it had the smartest one. The secret weapon wasn't a blade or a bow, it was structure. While neighboring kingdoms fought as loose tribal levies, farmers handed spears and pushed into formation. Egypt had built something the ancient world had never seen, a professional, specialized force with distinct divisions, each named after a god, each trained for a specific role. There were infantry corps for holding the line, and elite chariot units used for precision strikes on enemy flanks. And there was something even rarer: military intelligence. Egyptian scouts operated ahead of the main force, mapping terrain and tracking enemy movement before a single arrow was fired. Egypt's armies often won battles before they even began, simply because Pharaoh's commanders knew exactly where the enemy was, and the enemy had no idea Egypt was coming. But structure alone doesn't win wars. Behind every division stood engineering most people never think about. The Egyptian chariot wasn't just a cart with wheels. It was one of the most advanced pieces of technology in the ancient world. Light, built from bent wood and leather lashings, it could turn faster and strike harder than anything the Hittites or Canaanites could field. Paired with the composite bow, layers of wood, horn, and sinew, outranging almost any enemy archer, the chariot corps became a weapon of pure velocity. 2 men to a chariot, one driving, one firing, in coordinated waves that could collapse an enemy line before infantry ever met infantry. This technology didn't appear by accident. Egypt ran what may have been the ancient world's first true military training system. Recruits were drilled in archery, close combat, and chariot handling for years before facing an enemy. Officers rose through merit, not only bloodline. Scribes tracked rations, weapons, and manpower with the same precision Egypt used to build its temples. The same mindset that raised the pyramids turned toward war. We see the system in action at Megiddo, one of the earliest fully recorded battles in history. Egyptian commanders debated the safest route to attack, and Pharaoh Thutmose III overruled them, choosing the most dangerous, narrowest pass precisely because the enemy would never expect it. It was a calculated gamble built on intelligence, not instinct. The result was one of the most decisive victories of the ancient world, still studied by strategists today. But behind every triumph like Megiddo lies the flaw almost nobody talks about. This system wasn't just tactical, it was psychological. Pharaohs became so obsessed with appearing invincible that battle records were rewritten after the fact, victories exaggerated, losses erased. The same weapon that made Egypt's army brilliant also buried the truth about the times it failed. For every triumph the temples celebrated, there were quiet defeats, History was never meant to remember. And yet, even accounting for the propaganda, the underlying machine was real. Egypt's true advantage was never a single battle. It was the ability to sustain war for 1,000 years without collapsing. Grain depots, supply convoys along the Nile, standardized weapons, and a chain of command that could replace a fallen general without the army falling apart. This is what separated Egypt from its rivals. Empires around it burned bright and collapsed fast. Egypt built something slower, quieter, and far harder to kill. So the next time you look at a pyramid, remember, it wasn't magic and it wasn't the gods. It was strategy, intelligence, and discipline, built centuries before most civilizations even understood what an army was. If you want to keep uncovering the hidden tactics history tried to erase, hit subscribe, because next week we're going back onto the battlefield.